Hello, and welcome to It's All Good, a safe place to share ideas, reflect, and communicate openly. So let's open the conversation with this. When criticism sounds like communication but creates distance, how can we shift toward understanding instead?
Well, it's tricky, right? To express something that you feel or think and have it not land as criticism on the other person. Um, I don't know. I guess there's a continuum of like, you're mean, you're bad. That's kind of overt criticism, and or like, I'm so lonely, and then that can be construed as criticism too. Like, oh, you're lonely because I'm not paying attention to you. So, it's a continuum, I guess.
I learned a Jamaican phrase. I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining.
Thank you for explaining. I hear you. And that is validate to validate that the other one was heard. Then I can start with my point, which is everyone wants to be heard at the end, right? Once they're heard, then on a positive mode, they're more willing to hear the other two, is they don't see the right away as, oh, he's trying to go against me, or he's trying, to overshot me, like overcrowd.
Okay. Anytime I hear, even maybe on that continuum that we talked about, constructive criticism, I guess I have the biggest ego here because I always feel defensive. A given. And it's like, okay, take a deep breath. And why is that? It's my imagining of myself that I'm perfect or something. So even to receive criticism or critique, I notice in myself that I immediately get defensive. And I'm getting better at recognizing that kick, that, what do you call that? A reaction as opposed to a response. So yes, it's a tricky one, but I notice within myself that I become defensive when I think I'm being critiqued.
Well, I think most of us get defensive because we don't like to be criticized. But what is criticism? So how do you take what somebody else thinks about you or says something? You can take it in a positive side. You tell me your hair looks awful today. Well, I'm gonna be hurt, but I'd say, oh wow, okay. So I have to go and comb my hair. So it becomes a correction, becomes a care of somebody else toward you, right? And I believe, yeah, it all depends on how we take it, and we can always take the positive side. Oh, it's a help, not a criticism. That's in theory, not that I do that. I'm like you, Susan. I get, what? But theoretically, it should work.
Criticism is a tough one. I don't, who likes to be criticized, you know? Um, it depends on who it's from. If it's from someone I love and I trust and I respect, I might be a little hurt, but I'll listen to it. Um, but on the other hand, because I know you guys aren't going to criticize, or people who care about me aren't going to criticize out of meanness, you know. Um, but I don't think there's a lot of place for criticism amongst friends. Not when we're trying to respect and allow each person here to be who they are, or each person in your environment around you to be who they are. So who am I to criticize? Um, to criticize them. And typically, if I'm find myself criticizing someone, it's my mirror because I'm criticizing something in them that I need. You mentioned correction, Vesna. That's something that needs corrected in me.
It's interesting you said that about it was my significant other. He'll say, would you say that to a friend?" And I'm always thinking, well, yeah, I think I would. And I'm thinking, you're just being overly sensitive. Like, that's my reaction. But often, yeah, you're not happy with the way because you want it a certain way. And that's why you criticize.
This communication in general is really difficult, you know. Um, you're with someone and you think you're explaining yourself nicely, and then meanwhile the person's head's gone off on another tangent, and you have no idea. Like they're like on another planet now, and they're not hearing anything you say. And it's very hard sometimes when people don't give feedback. So you don't know they're on another planet and you're still standing over here, and there's no connection.
Yeah, so on the receiving end, it's so important to kind of put yourself aside and really try to listen. It going back to that idea that it's positive. Someone's trying to say something and they're trying to tell you something so that you can meet in the middle or feel like you're together. And it might come out weird or with weird words or a tone or eyes or body language and stuff. It might seem that way, but if you kind of try to lean into it and put all that aside, you're probably going to get some golden nuggets about how to be close to that person. And then you don't have to guess and wonder. Like a lot of people want to connect but don't know what the other one wants. So listen, because they're trying to tell you what they want, how you can connect.
I think that's different than criticism. That's a conversation. Criticism's not, okay, there's constructive criticism. Okay, that's just a nice way of saying I'm going to nicely criticize you. But I think I'm not sure if there's a big place in a relationship for criticism. Um, you can communicate, you can have conversation, you can say, "Hey, these are my needs," without criticizing, putting down the way a person is or who they are or the way why they do things the way they do. So I think there's a fine line there. At least in my mind, criticism has a negative connotation.
Yeah, that brings up just communicating with another, and particularly somebody you have a relationship with or you care about. Um, I often fall into the trap of I'm an honest person and I'm going to really tell you like, I'm always going to tell you the truth. And I lack communication finesse, and maybe I'm not so tactful, and so it could be criticism. And to be really honest, deep inside me, is it criticism? Right? Like you bug me. What you just did really bugged me. And I blurted out. That's not really good communication either. So I think, yes, listen and listen to ourselves as to what is the point of this? What is the point of the communication? Okay, I feel hurt about something, or that behavior, the behavior, not the person, really upsets me. And I want to be honest in communication and communicate that. And that is a very fine, it takes skill. But more than skill, I think it probably takes care. And what's been said about listening to the other, listening to myself. And the bottom line is, how much do I care about this person and want to express the care, but also improve the communication or the behavior or the relationship in giving some kind of feedback. But that's different than criticism, I think.
There's a very fine line. Something that one sees as a criticism, the other thing sees it maybe as an argument, another one sees it as just like analyzing things. Like I love analyzing things. And if I see something and I don't have anything to say to improve, to change, or just to say to make it the other one think about something, then I feel like I didn't add my part to it. And I can see how some might see it as a criticism, which is, for me, it's a way of developing something. Which is actually, I might not even agree to what I'm saying, but I'm saying it in order for something else to come up. Like, I know it's complicated, but you see how different people like come from totally different area.
Exactly. We are so different, and we have different backgrounds and different upbringing and different cultures. But I think that accepting and giving criticism, so criticizing and accepting criticism, is something that can be learned, it can be practiced, and it starts in the family, and continues at school, and then continues in our everyday life. I think it has to be taught from the beginning.
I think it depends what is being criticized as well. If you're criticizing the way something is done, you're definitely saying, no, that's not the right way to do it. This is the right way to do it. So yes, then the other person is probably right in feeling defensive. On the one hand, I'm thinking, but that is the right way to do it. So it has to do with the sensitivity towards the other, the care that you feel towards the other's feelings.
Seems miraculous that we can communicate with each other at all. We're like coming from totally different directions. So it really is a desire in your heart that you want to have some kind of connection. And then you have to weigh, yeah, I think it should be done this way, but maybe there are a million other ways that something can be done, and it's really not worth arguing about that point or criticizing that person the way they're doing it, because as somebody said, maybe that's the way you've always done it from your upbringing.
And that desire to connect with the heart is inside of us. So there's like, we say words and they might be critical, and they might really be like, you're mean or something, like overtly critical. But on the inside, something else totally might be going on in your heart, in your, I don't know, feelings. So we can try to see through criticism too, to what's really going on inside the other person deeper down.
We're so concentrated on ourselves during the day. I mean, who has time to think? Like, you really have to have, let's say, a connection, a healthy connection above every other, let's say, desire that you have in order to do what we're saying, in order to hear in order not to take it as a criticism. Because otherwise, all we do throughout the day, we're only thinking about ourselves, since we wake up. So maybe it is a practice, but it takes a lifetime probably.
Putting it that way, that makes absolute sense. I am thinking of in 24 hours of the day, 23 hours and 55 minutes, I'm thinking about me. Okay. Truly, it's all about me, me, me. And so the communication is until we change that perception of reality, okay, that we can start to think of another person other than just ourselves, our communication is going to reflect that. So throughout the day, if I'm finding that I'm in a stew of criticism, that I feel as if it's right to criticize my significant other or somebody else, that's still the perception of me being the center of the universe. And if I can begin to change that, looking at their needs, as has been said, what's going on for them, listening, then that would change. And I'm actually not clear what the difference between criticism and feedback is. Okay. Or maybe feedback is just sugarcoating the fact that I'm actually critiquing or criticizing somebody.
Wouldn't feedback be something that's asked for? Like if you're giving feedback, the other person is willing to listen, but if you're criticizing, it's you're wrong, you're doing this wrong. And it occurs to me that when you criticize other people like that aren't there, that's slander. So it's a negative for sure.
Yeah, I agree. There's very little place for criticism in relationships. It happens. We're human. It's going to happen. And how I receive that is up to me. But there's better ways to communicate than to criticize. Yeah. I want to rename it, rebrand it, and justify it. It's not a positive thing.
Maybe you're not in a good mood at that moment. So it's not, yeah, I think it's a bad habit, to be honest. And it's just lack of awareness. It's as was said, you're thinking about yourself all the time. And so it's always from your point of view. And so when you criticize, it's from your point of view. You're not thinking how the other person is going to react. You're just thinking, I want to say this. It's bugging me. I want to get it out. So it's about me.
Well, if it's about me, then treat the others as I would like to be treated, and talk to others as I would like to be talked to. It's very simple, theoretically.
Take a breath before you speak. Are you speaking just from your anger or your emotion? Or go into your own heart and see, what really is the issue. It may be just inside you.
Well, ladies, thank you for sharing so openly. Please join us next Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We clearly have a lot to say because here it's all good.